The prelude to International Art Post came when I was learning the process of full color printing, working at Intermedia Press in Vancouver. And the two owners, one of them was Ed Varney, who was already making artist stamps and had produced one or two editions in which he invited people in the network to participate in. As the owner of Intermedia Press, he didn't have to charge people for that. It was like his edition and his gift to the network. But I figured out that if I charged a certain amount per stamp for 500 copies, that I would be able to cover the expenses, and also eventually I realized I have to pay for my own time and labor. You know, I mean, this gift economy is really wonderful, but at a certain point you sort of get worn down by it. So I worked out a formula and I started out very inexpensive. I think I charged $35 or something for 500 stamps. So then I went to the network and put out with the Banana Rag the call if people wanted to have their own image done. I started out with asking them for an image about that size, which was proportional to what I was going to be doing, because at that point what people were sending me were photographs or little artworks, not digital files. that sort of process came along, I don't know exactly when, and I was assembling those things in the computer. Except, no, I wasn't in the beginning, because the pieces were that size, I wasn't manipulating them. So my layouts were huge, and I pasted them all up, and I had to paste up the title, you know, like the International Art Post, on layers of acetate. I mean, when I think about what I was doing and how easy it is by comparison, like I would walk into the print shop with like 4 layers of acetate with the photographs, the text, you know, and the color separation. It was amazing that I kept it up, but I don't remember at what point I got computerized. It was after I had left Intermedia, but they were doing a group purchase of computers for the press, and one of my friends who was working for the press let me know. And so I appealed to Ed and said, can I be included in this group purchase? So I was able to get my first Mac. I mean, they didn't pay for it, but it didn't cost me the arm and leg it would if I went to the, you know, computer store. So from that point on, then became a matter of assembling, doing the layout in the computer and importing the things. So then I reduced the size of the image people had to send me, and I also asked for them as digital files. And so that was the evolution, and I really have not got a good memory for what year that transition, but I do have the acetate with the overlays from the original issues. As somebody told me, well, you know, for archival purposes, I should have all that stuff, and I'm going, I wonder. I must tell you, the first issue that the Intermedia Press printed of mine, I get a phone call from the pressman who's telling me, this paper is not very good, the image is kind of spreading, and maybe we better go to the high gloss paper. I said, well, whatever, you better do that. And it wasn't until I used the paper that they had run through the press that was spreading. I was using it as make-ready, and very often when I'm handling paper, I would lick my thumbs and so on, and this paper is gummed. They printed it on the wrong side. They printed it on the gummed side. So that was an interesting thing. Then the first issue, and I think maybe the second issue, I hand perforated on Ed Varney's line perforator, which is a device that's like an old sewing machine with a treadle on it, and you simply put the sheet, 3 or 4 sheets at the most, because his pins were dull, because they were very old. So you put it in line, you stomp on the treadle, and the row of pins comes down and up, and that hole is punched in one row on, say, 4 sheets of paper. So imagine an edition of 1,000, which is what I did in my first couple of editions. To do, there's 36 stamps on a sheet, so there's like 6 rows of 3 or something. I can't remember exactly what the layout is, but a lot of time perforating those stamps. And then, of course, once their sheets are perforated, the individual orders have to be separated by hand, fold and tear, package, package, package. It was an enormous labor of love, which is why it kind of burned out very quickly, because it was just too much. I mean, I still do the hand separation, but after the first or second edition, Ed reported that this rotary perforator was available through Vancouver Bookbinders, and we went in on it together and bought it. Well, then he had it at his house under the deck, and he wasn't doing anything with it. And I said, well, because I was going over to his place to do this stomping business. And he said, well, I really don't want it. And I said, well, I do. So I bought him out and had it. And fortunately, where I was living, there was a garage that I could keep it in, because I was upstairs. You'd never get the thing upstairs. It was huge. So then a friend of mine helped me basically refurbish it. We repinned it. Each wheel, each perforation wheel has 500 pins that go into a die wheel that's below. And so as they rotate together, that's where the little holes are popped out. Anyway, my friend Douglas was active in going over the machine. He was really great. He really, you know, I couldn't have done it myself. And he took it apart, took the wheels off the rod, and took them out, and we together put these 500 pins back in the wheels, and then he put it together again, and it worked. The celebration of mail art and the passing the flame is an important addenda to that statement, because for one thing, I think mail art has, within the circle of mail artists, well known and well established, but outside of this particular network, it's still not, hasn't really reached, you know, general public awareness that this is a phenomena that's going on. So the celebration is, because it's been an amazing influence in my life, and that the passing the flame is my hope that by showing the works that people are doing here in this show, that I will get a few people at least fired up, as I have been fired up about mail art.